This is WJTV News Channel 12 at 6.
For decades, it was a common bragging right among some children of Vicksburg. They'd say, well, my dad worked on the buggy they put on the moon. But the stories were often hushed. This was, of course, during the space race, after all. So what's the truth? Well, Jacob Kittilstad takes a look at the wheels, literally out of this world, this Mystery Monday.
That is aluminum alloy. Almost exactly what's in the space shuttle, brought down to Earth at Extreme Wheels in Ridgeland.
These wheels are custom made for whatever car. It would fit nothing else but that car.
Sheldon Odom is CEO of business operations. He says he has what you're looking for, and if he doesn't,
3 to 4 weeks build on these wheels.
he'll help design it.
We do everything here locally. We have everything that we need in-house here. And basically, you come, tell us what you want, and we deliver.
But when it comes to tires,
They just replace this front lip and back lip.
he is not the first Mississippian to deliver on high-concept work.
But ultimately, they locked in on wheels, and then they tried a lot of different variations of tire concepts that were very lightweight, but yet would give you the mobility that you need in the lunar environment.
Research civil engineer Jody Pretty shows off the test tires for what's commonly known as the moon buggy.
And as he turns, he skids, the back end breaks loose just like on snow.
NASA brought the vehicle to the lunar surface in Apollo missions 15, 16, and 17. Its wheels tested in the River City.
So why did they choose Vicksburg?
Well, for one thing, the people here were already working on other unique tires, like on this big guy. It's known as the Rook. It was being looked at for feasibility in the Vietnam War. That was a marshy terrain, so why not investigate a dusty terrain like the one on the moon?
Particles could travel through that wire mesh.
Historian Charles Camillo says top-tier scientists work with models like this one.
We could charge this right now and probably get this to run.
At the Army Corps of Engineers Research and Development Center. That was the 60s into the 70s.
She wanted to make sure the vehicle didn't sink and become bogged down in the dust. It's a very fine dust. Of course, they didn't bring back enough soils to do testing on a large scale. They determined that some wind-blown sand, when you mixed it with some fine crushed stone from the Napa Valley, simulated the lunar soil.
It would take anywhere from a few days for sand to 2 or 3 weeks for clay to build the sections, and then they would start the testing with the dynamometer systems.
Here's what they found to work. Mesh wiring coated with zinc with metal chevrons welded right onto the tires, built to handle what they call a celestial environment.
Is he on the ground at all?
You have the different gravitational pull. You have these wild fluctuations in temperature in between when the moon is facing the sun or just the sub-zero temperatures on the sides away from the sun.
Other engineers actually got to go to Kennedy Space Center for one of the first landings and uses of the lunar rover on the moon, and it was in a very exciting time.
We have 15-inch wheels all the way up to 34-inch wheels.
So, what does Extreme Wheels think about that 24-inch rim and the others considered?
It can actually give you some ideas for future clients. You know, you might have some clients that want something just radical.
Exploring the unexplained on Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, News Channel 12.
3 lunar rovers remain on the moon to this day. Imagine a story as ridiculous as it is false, making its rounds on the internet, leaving people thinking it's true. Now imagine that story's about you. Well, that's what happened to the staff at a Jackson museum. Jacob Kittilstad takes a look at how they're dealing with the publicity this Mystery Monday.
The president, Mississippi, and a nationwide program calling an unverified story real news.
And President Obama has offered to pay out of his own pocket for the Museum of Muslim Culture, out of his own pocket.
This was back in October during the government shutdown. Fox News host Anna Koyman would later apologize for her statement, which came from a satirical article from the website National Report. But by that time, the story had already been shared tens of thousands of times using an image of the Milwaukee Art Museum. But the address given was in the city of Jackson, And actually, the museum's location and existence are things the article had right.
Of course, we had no clue. And we just started to get these calls. This is the loom that they use.
Okola Rashid is the museum's executive director. She says some callers were more angry than others.
They were upset because they somehow had, I guess it was those that didn't like that idea. You know, some people were just, calling because they were just inquisitive, just inquiring to know. So we went and we saw the story. And, the story, of course, was false. We would love to have a contribution from President Obama, but that's not the case.
And museum workers don't necessarily see what happened as being completely negative.
The mission of the museum is to educate the American public about Islamic contributions to America and to the world, and the diversity in the Islamic community. We had people that said they didn't know it, they were going to come and check it out. We seem to have gotten an increase in visitation during this particular period of time.
Exploring the unexplained on Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, News Channel 12.
Administration at the International Museum of Muslim Cultures say they are the first museum of their kind in the U.S., and that's likely why they were called out in that made-up article. The governor of Mississippi has lost his furniture. Sure, it happened about 150 years ago, but every bed, desk, and sofa from the governor's mansion is still missing. Are you certain you're not sitting on one right now? Jacob Kittilstad takes a trip to their last known home this Mystery Monday.
Macon, Mississippi. For a time, it was the state capital.
It's a little messy than I usually like for it to be.
But now, even that history is bought and sold.
At one time, Macon was a big dealer in antiques. There was a lot of shops here, a lot of shops.
Dorothy Harvey is owner of Jefferson Street Antiques and Collectibles.
It wasn't planned, it just happened.
She's been in the business about a year and a half.
What's hot right now is furniture. We sell a lot of antique furniture. I think it brings them back to their childhood. From Grandma's house to Mama's house, they had old furniture.
But even when growing up, Dorothy says she's never seen that suspiciously stately stock of sofas and stools supposedly sent for safekeeping in Noxubee County.
Well, maybe it won't be found in a thrift shop, but what about a forgotten shed or an old abandoned home? Perhaps there could be found rotting relics, and expensive ones at that, of old-style Mississippi.
Roughly 1850s design on the floor. It's hand-painted.
Curator Lauren Miller knows some stories behind the stories at the governor's mansion, but about that 130-mile move in a war zone, mind you, there's little known.
The Civil War continued in Mississippi in May of 1863. Governor Pettus evacuated the city, and at some point between May and July of 1863, all of the furnishings were removed from the mansion. Beds, sofas, absolutely would have had a dining room table.
The mansion still has some historically connected furniture.
The sofa belonged to Governor Humphreys, who was here right after the Civil War.
The rest, however, are antiques, restoring an 1840s look.
Here in Jackson, the mansion was left relatively unharmed by Union soldiers, so it's hard to say what would have actually happened to the furniture. Some of it could have been taken, some of it could have been destroyed. We just don't know. The documentation that we have is later, at the end of the war. There's the information that appoints the governor to authorize someone to go to Macon to find the furniture. And of course, when they get to Macon, they can't find it. Chandelier, that's English, and it's cranberry overlay crystal.
And even if someone came forward claiming to own part of what's missing,
this is our chandelier. It's made out of an old bed spring.
The inventory of what was sent to this city is vague, almost non-existent, but consider the scale. It was 85 crates of furniture, missing then and missing now.
The older furniture is a lot better furniture. It's mostly made out of wood, solid wood. I would love to find some of it. I really would. I think it's great.
Exploring the unexplained on Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, News Channel 12.
So, was it all destroyed, smuggled, or perhaps preserved? Give us a call if you have any idea. We'll put the contact information on this story on WJTV.com.